Imagine a world of toys that we live in where some of the best products out there are not even officially licensed. And that is the hot topic of today, because some of the best stuff out there right now happens to be just purely fan made overseas. Whether you're a fan of Centurions, whether you're a fan of Masters of the Universe, Mask, even the Top Gun license, or non-licensed, we should say, Silverhawks, you name it. That's why we're here today. So on this Sunday edition of the Toy Connections Online live stream, or TKO, we're going to be speaking with Ramen Toy and also joined by our good friend Ozstradamus Toyz. Now, I'll get into it once we have the guests on, but I do have a little bit of a blurb to say when it comes to this sort of like fan-made, unlicensed stuff, because if you've been watching the channel for a while and you're kind of like a follower of Toy Connections, whether you're a subscriber, whether you're a patron or whatnot, you might be surprised to know that a lot of the third-party Masterpiece Transformers in my collection are not actually licensed. So I'm going to jump into that for a little bit. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to welcome my sort of like guest co-host for the stream right now, and he was on last night for nearly 6 hours. That's a Saturday, and he also does Toy Frenzy over on Skellyvator's channel on Thursday nights. But I was on for part of his stream last night. I seemed pretty tired, but I wasn't even there anywhere for near the full 6 hours he was on. But he's been on here before. It's been a little while. Ozstradamus Toyz, welcome, my good friend.
What's going on, Ken? Good to see you and everybody in the chat. I know quite a few of you were up late last night with me, so thank you for being here again this morning. It's amazing to see you all.
Totally, yeah, and it's basically awesome. Early afternoon where you are, so yeah.
Right?
Yeah, now Ace from Ramen Toy said he had to drop off for a bit. I think he needed to get his internet rebooted, because before we started the stream, he did what do you call it? His audio was good, but it was a bit janky in terms of his visual. But is there anything you wanted to say about before we get going here?
You know, I stumbled across Ramen Toy on Facebook before I started to get really involved within the toy tubing and Instagram kind of community that, you know, has welcomed me so much into this as I've gotten back into toy collecting. And it was literally just looking at a lot of his mask concepts and the Makina as well as Commanders. And I'm like, man, it's great to see somebody putting out these amazing franchises that none of these big companies are touching. And, you know, at the time I always wondered, well, how does somebody get away with that? Because I know, you know, there's always those issues with licensing and stuff like that. But I did look into it a bit and found out some information. And, you know, it's absolutely amazing the work that Ace and his team are putting into getting these, you know, I don't want to say dream projects, because we often refer to that when it comes to like the bigger crowdfunding, but I mean, that's essentially what they are, though. You know I have friends who were all about, you know, Mask when they were kids, and nobody's putting anything out there. So, you know, he's giving us that availability to get some things that nobody else is really touching. And I absolutely love Ace for that. And can't thank him enough for the contributions he's giving to the community with that.
And that's the thing, right? Is, you know, are you more hardlined into your whole, if not official, frame of mind? Which I don't blame people if that's the route they want to go. Or do you go, I need to have this in my collection, and one of the boys, a fellow fan like me, is making the stuff. Speaking of fellow fans, he is backstage. That's hard to say. Backstage. You know, the whole, like, not quite alliteration, but repeat thing. He can speak for himself right now. For all he knows, we're talking trash about him the whole time he was gone. He's going to come back to that 2-minute spot and be like, oh, we hate Ramen Toy. But let's be nice when he's on camera. But let's be ultra nice now that he's going to be on camera. Ace from Ramen Toy. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Ken, Oz. Thanks for having me on. I'm okay. I'm good.
And you look a little smoother right now in terms of the pixelation or lack thereof. I assume you rebooted something.
Yeah, I just rerouted the camera setting, because when I first clicked on your StreamYard link, it automatically opened a window versus me copy and pasting on the browser. And that initial step did not allow me to select the camera source. So it was kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of varies as well, because like I have my if you can see, like if I switch to here, this is just my regular laptop microphone, and when I go laptop camera. And when I get an impromptu stream invite, I know there's going to be 6 people on. I just go like this. But if I know that it's kind of like a stream where I'm expected to like participate more, like if I'm hosting or if someone has me as the guest and they want to talk about toy histories, I try to put a little more effort in.
There you go.
Yeah, like especially if there's less of us and less to look at on camera, right? But yeah. So we got a bunch of people in the chat already, and people always file in a little bit later. But let's just check in and see who happens to be there. So we got Largo's Lair, we got Epic Badger, we got Payne's Toy Samples, we got our good friend Allison Troy who's back, our all-star moderator Gazz, Whiskey Tango, Foxtrot. I believe the answer is December. Asen, correct me if I'm wrong.
What is that?
Release
date. Okay, yeah, December. That's right.
Yeah, there we go.
Whiskey Tango Foxtrot is actually WTF.
Yep.
I think that's probably on purpose,
work
right?
time fun, right?
Work time fun. Yeah, there we go. Thanos Copter, Ozstradamus Toyz, Neil Hill being very kind in the chat. We got Happy Accident. Did your chat come up yet? Happy Accident. There you are. Okay, sorry. We got someone's sister is in the chat as well. And we got someone here spoiling what happened at SummerSlam the other day. And our good friend Toy Sorceress over at Toy Habits channel. We got Silver K from Geek the F Out and the latest Toy Connections channel member. Brick Something is up again this morning. Ramen Toy pulling double duty. We got Jay Smith here. Good to hear from you. K-Dawg Broadcasting, another good friend of the channel as well. Hans Chow breaching the stream. All in caps. Good to hear from you. And oh dear God. WraithMace. Good to hear from you as well. You were also tuned into my stream yesterday. My impromptu one, Impossible Pie, has joined as well. We got Take Two. We got Pericles, Dragon Ball Z. Wow, people just keep pouring in here.
I know.
This is a good thing. And Payne's is doing the mod duties very well over here. So give Ozstradamus Toyz a follow and a subscription. And Ramen Toy if you already haven't. Ace, I think I linked. You got so much social media, Ace. I linked your website and your Facebook. I probably forgot to link your Instagram and your YouTube.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, the website's the important one because that's where you actually sell stuff. So, yeah. Oh, yes, that's right. I asked for spoilers, and here I am giving this guy hell because he gives spoilers. So, yes. All right.
Way to go,
cool.
Ken.
Yeah, there we go. Right. Did I tell you what happened when Andrew Davis introduced himself to me at Joe Fest? And he knows this story. He knows I've told it before, but like, I'm leaving Sergeant Slaughter's booth, right? And I was really emotional because Sarge recognized me, stepped out of the booth, gave a big hug. His daughter took photos and sent them to me directly. I was all emotional, right? And as I'm leaving the booth, right, I actually dropped the photo because like the signed photo, but it's okay. I didn't damage it or anything. And I suddenly hear a yo, and this guy like bigger than me comes along. Was like, I know you, but I bet you don't know me. And of course, I'm still like, my brain's still over at Sarge's booth, and I'm staring at this dude. And he starts basically giving me these wrestling lines and wrestling promos and giving me a hint as to who he is. And like, you must be Andrew. Like, this point, my brain's half back in my body goes, Andrew Davis. And I'm like, it's not that I didn't know, but my brain was still over there. And I was fighting the jet lag and the alcohol from the night before and all that. But it was just a hilarious thing because I wasn't actually sure he was going to make it. He hinted he was going to be there. And K-Dawg, no problem. We'll see you when we see you, buddy. And yeah, press that like button. 38 people watching now. I imagine with Ramen Toy here, that number might get over 50, which is kind of nice. Yeah, Ace, I know we got a lot of questions for you, but one of the things that I did want to bring up was, or not so much questions, but one of the things that I did want to talk about, and I'll share screens here just momentarily. And I touched on this when it started. I'm just waiting for technology to catch up with me here. There we go. And a lot of people who they say that they love talking to me about Transformers and all that, they might be surprised that, okay, this is what I call, or what a lot of people call, the masterpiece collection of stuff. And there's only one official figure in there made by Hasbro or Takara, and that's the Bumblebee in the middle. That's by Takara. You probably all know where I'm going with this. The rest of those mini bots are either made by X-Transbots, Bad Cube, Fans Toys. There's actually even the Cliff Jumper, no pun intended, is made by a company called Ace Toys. They call it Ace Toys Tumbler, right? The Cosmos is the Toy World Space Racer. You know where I'm going with all this, right?
Yeah.
Is that maybe people kind of give Transformers a pass because it's a billion something franchise. Maybe that's why, but just so you know, right? Like, I do get a lot of comments about like, oh, Ramen Toy is not official, and I'm not gonna say that anyone's at fault for thinking that, but for me, this ship sailed 15 plus years ago when I started collecting third-party Transformers. Right. In fact, third-party stuff in Transformers, I think just accessory kits started around 2006, and full-size figures came out around 2008, maybe 2007. So, like I said, the ship sailed for me 15 years ago, and I think there's something to be said about items that are like when you completely bootleg the entire mold, the entire tooling, versus when you do your own engineering ground up. Okay, no one's going to dance around it, not even Ace. The IP is bootlegged. The actual engineering and design of the product, however, did require something from the ground up, right? Even if you're using the end likeness of somebody, you had to tool the joints, you had, in this case, the transformation, and there's a little bit of transforming mechanism on the Makina stuff. So I just want to say that by and large, that ship has sailed for me, and maybe that makes me a bad person. I don't know, right? There we go. Brian Brink, master of the charts, has joined. It wasn't for my third-party Transformer shells, my Transformers would be barren. And in the case of Transformers, it pushed Takara to be better. It pushed them to release Masterpiece at a higher rate. At least I believe it did. So that ship has kind of sailed me, like I said. I know I've missed some names in the chat. And yeah, there is a difference in your mind between an unofficial item and a bootleg. Just because someone does it out of a factory rather than just doing, a handful of 3D printed stuff. I mean, again, I think you all know where I'm going with this, but let's talk about something a little more direct and to the point. Somebody dropped this on Facebook last night.
Okay.
That was your cue, by the way. I don't have speaking cards.
I was waiting for the question.
Oh yeah, no. You know what? While you think about how you want to answer that, sorry to just put you on the spot. I pivoted very quickly from Transformer to suddenly this. While you think about your answer, let's read a super chat here from my good friend RaithMace. Can't wait for my Ramen Racer. Hey Ken, happy Sunday. Yep, and yeah.
If I may just take the floor and address some of the stuff you mentioned earlier. You mentioned that Transformers third party might be given a pass because of the multi-billion-dollar or whatever, but more so that should be policed because it's lucrative. And when we talk about corporations or IPs or copyrights coming into the fray, it's obviously because somebody might be profiting without regulation. Mm-hmm. So, on the contrary, I would disagree with you and say that it is the Transformers third party that needs more, the cease and desist and all these things, because obviously they are grabbing a big chunk of the pie or the cake or whatever you call it, simply because it's like a number one selling thing, right? Mm-hmm. But having said that, I'm pretty sure that the cease and desist is given to the companies that makes the third party Transformers. Mm-hmm. Whether or not they respond to it is a different thing, which I have no idea. I've heard I've heard back in the day in 16 or 14, mm-hmm. when I spoke to people in the industry about the third party stuff, and they are saying that it is coming. The reckoning is coming. There'll be no more. Wow! But as we have passed almost 10 years, and it's still going, right? So I believe that aside from the powers vested in certain parties or companies where they can physically shut down operations. I think that besides that, mostly there is nothing that it is done basically to all the third party stuff. The only closest thing I've heard, again, is what I've heard. I'm not sure how true it is for example, uh, an entire Facebook page was shut down when they did the third party uh, Romero, the Joker back in the Adam West Joker, right?
Mhm.
So there was a third party company making that figure, and from what I heard, the entire Facebook page was taken down. So that's
Mm.
pretty serious,
It
right? I
is.
mean,
And
they
to
built,
comment on that, like it's not so much that
yeah,
Transformers gets a full-on pass. I think it's just been around longer, so we hear less about people, like less complaints about it.
right. But then again, why would
Um,
there be a less complaint? I mean, the crime is the same,
it
right?
is. It is. I think it's like I
So
said, it's the whole thing. The ship sailed a while ago, right? Even though what makes sense is what you're saying, right? Versus what I see on social media today. So that's all.
yeah,
That's all. That's the differentiation, right? It's not like they should be given a pass. It just sort of what
right,
I observed, right?
right.
So if
So
you ask me, I want my Marshall in 3030,
so
right?
so
Or yeah,
as much as you hear about entire Facebook being shut down, which is very painful because you build your Facebook not just a day, right? It takes time to build it, and if it's just gone like that, it's definitely very detrimental to the whole
mhm,
thing. But having said that, you can see that there's I mean, I don't know how they do it. I have no idea how they do it. You can see the Joker figure from Adam West still in the market. You can see third party Riddler figures and all these things is in the market, and we all know that Warner Brothers is very tough when
Yeah.
it comes to
yeah,
this kind of stuff,
yeah,
right? But
yeah.
of course, I don't think anybody has made. Again, I could be wrong. The actual Batman in a third party. I'm not sure about that. So maybe they're giving a pass to the non-essential characters, or rather the lesser characters. I mean, it's not non-essential, obviously very essential, but the
Yeah.
fact is that you obviously see the joke the Riddlers and the Jokers in the market, but not the Batman itself. So again, I'm really not sure how it goes about,
Hmm.
and I might even go further to talk about how Jazz Inc. dioramas, which used to make non-licensed Batmobiles, finally got the license to make it. So
Hmm.
in that sense, I would think, again, I don't know. I'm just giving my own speculation. I'm thinking that the licensors saw the quality of the products, and instead of doing a cease and desist, they worked out a licensing deal.
Well,
And they
yeah.
even call Jazz Inc. dioramas a gold licensee, which basically means they pay them a lot of money, right?
See, yeah,
So
and to get your insights here
yeah,
is so valuable, because you're right. Like I'm looking kind of as the end consumer, end product consumer, but you have to go. You're the one that's got to go through the motions here. So it's good to get this. Your thoughts on this?
yeah. And
Hmm.
just to build on that even further, just the other day, I saw a Top Gun Maverick figure, the one where he was in the test aircraft at the beginning
From
of
the
the movie.
beginning, yeah. Well, I
Spoilers,
saw that as
spoilers.
well. Was that 1/6 scale?
1/6 scale, yeah,
So
at
the
that
price gonna be even
detail,
higher.
yeah, 1/6 scale. So and it looks like Tom Cruise more than mine looks like Tom Cruise, and I'm pretty sure the season this is coming pretty soon,
Hmm.
but they'll still get it out somehow, right? Because you don't know who exactly they are. So that's the difference, I guess. Yeah.
Mm. Fair enough. No, thank you for that bit of insight. And it's like I said, like you're the one that's got to live and breathe it every day. Have you got a lot of comments about your 3.0, not no
Okay.
pun
Yeah.
intended, release? Have you got a lot of comments about 3030 yet?
Oh yeah. In fact, the Marshall post is our highest grossing shares and likes.
Huh.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's the only subject that hits over 1,000 likes on Instagram and over like 80 to 100 shares on Facebook.
Hmm.
So that is, yeah, it's so we have to put it to the test to see if the sales match the shares and the
Yep.
likes.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. You're going to show these at PowerCon.
I'm not
No?
correcting you. I'm not correcting you.
I'm
So
guessing.
You're right.
Okay. Okay. So
I will be looking forward to seeing them in person then.
Oh, Oz will be
because-
there. Okay, great.
That's right. I'm
oh, we
coming.
didn't tell you. Oz is coming.
Yep.
Okay,
I
great,
have
great.
made it to PowerCon.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, Oz, you've been sitting there quietly, patiently. Why don't you talk us through a little bit, like some of your excitement, what you hope to see at PowerCon, who you hope to meet there?
Well, I mean, one of the best things about getting to PowerCon is meeting so many of the individuals that I talk to week after week, sometimes daily, within this community. I think that's phenomenal. Like Ace, I've been looking forward to meeting you. I know you've been on the list of, attendees and vendors for PowerCon, and it's like this is going to be an incredible chance. I'm excited to see, and I got to know, will Bad to the Bone be making an appearance? Because as you know, big
Oh, definitely.
Masters.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that. And that kind of ties in with the Brave Star 30 for 30 because amongst the Masters of the Universe community, there's been a big outcrying for more Brave Star content. And people are really willing to see it. So it's not really being in that community and understanding that. I'm not surprised that that's getting a lot of publicity because you're a lot of traffic really. People have been wanting this for quite some time, and it's just somebody had mentioned in the chat earlier that certain big companies are just sitting on these properties that with the nostalgia driven market of today, it seems foolish in my mind that they would just leave money sitting on the table when it's to be had. But I mean, of course, I understand that there's tooling costs and that can be a lot. And when something
resources too, right?
Yeah.
Time in the factory, like getting in the factory queue,
right.
Trying to convince the corporate suits that this is a profitable thing that'll make them good money. A lot of that.
Exactly. There's got to be these guarantees because the big guys don't like to take the chances.
Well, I really don't fully agree with that statement. I think it's more of, again, it's all just my own speculation, my own thoughts. I believe that it's like, do you hire a ex-chef to your restaurant to work, or do you hire somebody who has never had any experience with food in a restaurant to work? So a lot of these companies, we talk about companies, but it's the people. It is the people that is the company. The company is an entity. It doesn't breathe. It's not even an AI, right? It's the people in the company that makes the company works. So and with big companies, you have executives that comes in. They might be pulled in from other industries, right? Not necessarily having any toy background, and that could, in my opinion, is the issue, right? You have people coming in who do not know what toys are about, even though they claim to know. They're experts in some way or the other, and that drives the company in a different direction. Look at this plastic-free packaging fiasco from Hasbro, right? They have no idea, because if what they decided to do was the way, because they're experts, then why do the U-turn and go back?
Right.
Obviously, something went wrong. If these are the experts and they have calculated the statistics, the algorithms, and all these things, and they know how to do a crowd fund, why would their crowd fund fail? Why would they need to pivot, backtrack, change numbers, etc., etc.? It should all been well thought out, because these are big companies. They have to do board meetings. They have to get everything watertight. So again, I think it's the people who are in these companies who are not up to par. I'm just ranting. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I have no issue with that. Go ahead, Oz.
I was going to say, I completely agree with that. There's a lot of these people here who don't necessarily understand. They understand the numbers. They understand sales dollars. But there's a big disconnect from the consumer in a lot of ways here, I think, that they just don't necessarily see that market. And I get there's catering to your intended consumer and also catering to your shareholders, where an independent company doesn't necessarily have shareholders that they have to relate numbers to, which is always a big plus for the smaller guys, because it's like they can get away with deciding whatever they want. The only downfall is on them. When you have shareholders, if you don't meet your quotas, if you don't meet your numbers, that doesn't only just fall on you. Now you can't meet the promises you made to your investors. And that's always a big problem. And it's hard a lot of times, I know, as a fan, to understand, like, I was saying, like, they're leaving money on the table with not doing anything with Brave Star, and sitting on it. But
On
at the
that
same
note,
point,
I'd like to just give an input, because before I lose my
Yeah.
thought again,
sure.
I was about to say that I think that Brian Flynn from Super 7, in my opinion, is the king of nostalgia.
Right?
Look at the stuff he's putting out, right? The
Yes.
fact that he is not putting out Brave Star Centurions makes me to wonder that maybe nobody knows how to get the license,
I agree.
right? And he's all about legit and getting license.
Yeah.
So the fact if he doesn't touch these things, maybe he couldn't find the
And
Let me
breadcrumbs.
piggyback on that
Yeah.
statement though,
Yeah.
because Super 7 does take some flack for like high price, not the best articulation, but in terms of simply having the license and having a likeness,
Yeah.
like if I look at my Super 7 Thundercats and they just go on my shelf in a single pose, I'm happy with what I have from that front. But also the release times between their product at times leads me to believe that maybe as a company they've grown bigger than their factory connections would indicate. An Ace, when you're trying to get into the queue of a factory for a production run, can be difficult, right? So maybe they're sitting there and there's like 4 other toy lines going through that factory, and they're like, yeah, but we got to get this next wave of GI Joe Ultimates, or we got to get the Thundercats out, or Silverhawks, or whatever it is, and they're sort of like they're in their own logjam to get into their own factory, let alone whatever other clients are in that factory, let alone wanting to secure even more licenses like Brave Star on top. So that might be one of the reasons why they don't have Brave Star, but I am completely speculating on that front by just tying back the release schedule that they seem to have that's very lengthy in between, right? To me, that might be why they didn't get the Brave Star license, right? Because they're already having trouble keeping up as it is. So anyway,
maybe there's always a chance. And on that note, this is not a stream about Super 7, by the way, but just to finish off my thought, everybody is still somehow saying that Super 7 is a small company, though they're not. In my opinion, they're not a small company, right?
I would say they're a
small
boutique company, but not small.
Anyway, that's just my opinion. So anyway,
all right. Nope. Oz, did I cut you off there?
Sorry, I was about to say why they're not a small company, because look at the endeavor that they did with the Cat Slayer. That endeavor, and then me finding out that Warner Brothers would require a 6-figure royalty for the Silverhawks, tells me that you got to be not a small company to do this thing. Yeah, because I was inquiring about the Silverhawks license, and I finally got some inroads, and they got back to me and said that we're looking at the number one, it cannot conflict with Super 7, so I can't do a same scale. It has to be draw a plan for us, and it has to be a 6-figure US dollar endeavor, which I said I'll think about it.
In addition to the Cat Lair, they've also got the Snake Mountain. So yeah,
right,
yeah.
I say it's one of the best parts about getting to spend time with you, Ace, because you have this insight into those inner workings of what it's like to obtain a license, as well as going into the manufacturing process. I always find myself learning whenever I listen to you on a stream, because there's some element of the business that I miss. I know it from a retail setting, being in a store, selling from in a store, but you know about all the ins and outs with the production going into beforehand and what that cost is, and just not even overall in money and dollars and cents, but time and investment too. Like you were saying, maybe they can't find where to get a license from, because we all know you try to hunt back a number of these
Well,
IPs.
getting a license Oz is actually not, again, not, it's not rocket science.
Right.
The biggest licensing show in Las Vegas happens every year in around May or June. Get there, there's lots of agents, if they're not even the licensors themselves, and the agents who wants to make a deal will find you who is the license holder. So it's not impossible. But the fact that I'm not equipped to do all
Right.
these legwork and money is not cheap.
Yeah.
It's not free.
Yeah.
You got to have money available. That's why I actually went to, well, we started all these things, and then we started to see about, well, talk about, let's go into the next phase of ramen, which is try to license stuff, right? So we met up with the licensing agents in Singapore, and Singapore is quite a powerhouse in terms of a regional position for the licensing branches around Asia. So a lot of the licenses are signed in Singapore, even though it's like for the region. That's why they call it the head office. And apparently, with the agent for Warner Brothers, because previously I was uh, having the direct connection with Warner Brothers Hong Kong. So I also came to know recently that the Warner Brothers Hong Kong office is vacated. You got COVID, you got uh, financial whatever, right? So they decided to vacate the office. So what happens then? Then I realized that, oh, now Warner Brothers is letting agents take care of the licensing, at least in that region, because
Right.
the rights holder can actually negotiate the license directly with you, because a big company like Warner Brothers have their own licensing team, but sometimes they would sublet or subcontract that task to an agent. It's just like, if you run a realty company, right? You have your own agents, you are there selling the properties, everything, but it's not wrong to broker with another agent to help to maybe get a better reach. And that's what's happening, right? Even though Warner Brothers, Disney, and all these things, they're big, they're huge, but you can never cover the entire planet. So same thing. That's why you have the agent, and that's why the agent exists. So at least now I'm explaining to you this aspect. So it's not difficult at all to get license. You can get a NASA license, you can get a Michelin license, you can get Ferrari license, but Ferrari you can't, because you have to be invited to go on a yacht every year, where you will tell the guy, I'm going to give you $10 million for the license. So Ferrari, you won't need, you will be invited only for Ferrari. All right, so that's what I know. Yeah.
So one of the questions in the chat is, are you ever planning to do like your own like original Ramen Toy IP at some point?
Oh, my Ramen Toy IP?
Like your own toy line,
Oh
like from the
yeah, we
ground
are
up.
we are actually thinking about something, because we've seen the success of the Kickstarters on Kickstarter, right? And I was formulating this idea in my mind using the existing tooling that we have, because some of those toolings are not performing well. For example, the land drone. I can convert that land drone tooling to a character in my own IP. I can convert my existing Quicksilver body to a character in my new IP, because I intend to make a MK2 of the Quicksilver in Titanium Titans, so that he is much more refined, so that his head can be tilted back, so that his
Got it.
feet can be tilted down, so that his wings can actually extend further. I don't like, I on hindsight, I don't like the pose like a cross, like a crucifix. I
Right.
want his arms to go up even more. So that was in hindsight something I miss. We are doing a MK2 version of that, solid vac metal. So I'll be having an original body, right? And also the
Yep.
monster, we can have an original body. So I can use parts of that, and then we want to create something that involves the martial as well. Because this whole IP that I have in mind, which I might collaborate with the Hatter, because he's a writer, he probably can help me to write up something for the IP. And the whole thing in my mind now involves around a Western. I've thoughts about jail cells, grave tombstones, Joy Roger pirates, and antagonists called the dentist. Sort of like that. So this is something that we're working on. Hopefully, we'll deliver it maybe in the near future. Yeah.
I can't wait to see what you bring out with that, because that just sounds amazing in my mind.
Mhm.
Right. It's not too bad, right?
Right. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I'm like sitting on the edge of my seat now, waiting to hear more about this original IP.
There
Like,
you go. So that answers some of the thoughts and some of the questions. Now, Ace, is there a specific, like I did title this stream Ramen Toy Update. Is there one or two specific things? I know Oz touched on the battle bones or the bad to the bone a little bit. Is there one or two things that you wanted to give an update on that you keep getting the same question about, or some piece of news that's hot off the press right now that
Well, the
you want to talk
update is
about?
that we've got the Ramen Racer working as of today. We were fixing up all the parts, and we managed to, crunch time. We got it. We did it, because I was afraid that from what I was seeing last week, the factory promised me a test shot of the Ramen Racer in July, but July came and went, and I didn't see any test shot. So I was like, oh, we might not make it. So as of
Yeah.
today, it was done. So, but then again, it's very rough.
Yeah.
Also,
And just
when
on
you go see
yeah.
it, you will know, right? I will
Just
not
on
try
time.
to make it nice and hide anything, because it's a test shot. It's really very rough.
Right.
The parts
Right.
are not fitted properly, so we got to sand and file and everything just to make it fit, because we're doing the job of the tooling, to adjust the tooling to fit the part. We're actually like manually doing it on the part itself. So yeah.
Fair enough. I guess you kind of answered the first part of this comment here, but like the second part is the backing kind of like exceeding, or like how do you like the numbers so far on the backers for the racer?
It has a plateaued at 1611, and I was hoping that it would gradually move up, but it has plateaued. So being something that has plateaued is not good, right? At least in any business and any sales, you want to at least see some movement. That's the key. So the fact that it plateaued is a bit concerning. So we hope that by bringing it to the show, we can get the engine started again to bring up a few more numbers.
Pun intended.
But in terms of the question, yes, it has exceeded my expectations from the launch, but now it has plateaued. So from the launch, I mean, within a month, we hit our 1,000 customers, and we went on
Fair
to
enough.
do about 600. So I think that's fantastic. I mean, we've never sold anything more than that amount until today. That is the highest selling item for ramen.
That's good. Yeah. Have you thought about licensing like Japanese anime characters? Because right now you're sticking largely to North American IP.
That is more difficult. That is more difficult simply because you have to go through agents for that. Unless you speak Japanese, unless you have a Japanese company, you're not going to be dealing with the licensor face to face. Okay. And the Japanese are a different culture, I would say. I have inquired for a license before, and I went through a Japanese intermediary, and what I got was, I mean, I can tell you right now, I tried to license Macross, right?
Okay.
And we were speaking with the licensor Big West through the intermediary, but the deal was that I cannot just do the original TV series, and I cannot do the TV series now, even if I want to do a TV series. I have to do the latest, which is Delta, right? So
Oh.
if you want to get the license, do the Delta, which is the latest, help to push the latest. But I don't care about Delta. I don't know what is Delta.
Right.
I'm an 80s guy. I only know the original Roy Fokker, and Rick Hunter and all these things. So I have no interest in licensing Delta. But if you want to do it, you got to license Delta, you got to license Frontier, you got to do a bit of Macross Plus, you got to do, which is why if you look at the toys that's put out by Bandai, the model kits by Hasegawa, it covers everything. They don't just do one particular
That's a good point. Yeah.
era, is everything. So that is at least my experience from Big West, which I can't handle. I'm not sure about the rest. So
okay, no, fair enough. No, thanks for that.
by the way,
Appreciate
I'm
that.
hated in the Macross Robotech community. By the way,
What happened? Or
I
let's
did.
not
I
get
did the third party Macross Zero F14. You can Google it. F14 Macross Zero caliber wings. You'll see the whole shebang. Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay. Okay. Well, you got a clean slate over here, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
We got some
they,
people
they,
that are
they
interested.
crucified me for doing that. They said, "Oh, this is knockoff. This is bootleg." Even Big West wrote on their official website, Caliber Wings is making an unauthorized, unofficial model of this. Big West has never singled out anyone, even the real bootleggers. You have the real bootleggers that bootleg the Yamato toys, the Takatoku toys, but Big West has never, ever put anybody's name on their website except mine. So,
and does that have anything to do with Harmony Gold being so protective as well, or
no, because Harmony Gold has no rights to Macross Zero.
Oh, okay.
Harmony Gold has no rights to Macross Plus.
Because I wondered why you were
Zero,
mentioning Big
Macross
West
anything.
and not Harmony Gold. But okay,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I was even warned by Harmony Gold that if I were to go this path, I'm on my own. Right? They said you can do a one-off custom, no problem. I said no, I want to sell it because the fans want it. At least the fans I know wants it, not the fans that has been crucifying me. Right? Oh, they were all over me, man, on Twitter, on everything. Yeah, this guy a bootlegger, is a pirate and all these things. Yeah.
Good thing you got very thick skin, because I've noticed that some of the stuff that's been lobbied at you, you're just kind of like, you might answer, you might not. It kind of just rolls off your back a lot of the time.
I don't know. It's just my personality. I think I'm always trying to do the right thing, and if I can't do it this way, it doesn't mean I stop. I find an alternative until a point of time where you can shut me down. And then I'm totally like I'm gone. I've no more moves. I gotta tap out. Then that's it. The end. Right. But other than that, I will be, it's one more. It's 1, 2, and one more.
Yeah. Just keep taking a punch here and there.
Like HBK, he will never.
Agree.
I don't know.
HBK. Yeah.
There you go.
Despite what people think, I don't actually hate HBK just because I'm a Bret Hart fan. But yeah, I got to ask on behalf of one of my best friends in the world, Gazz. Spiral Zone, Mega Force. You've got the
I don't know what is
6-inch
Mega Force,
tooling.
but Spiral Zone has been talked around, and I would look into it. It involves, I guess, some motorcycle and some suits.
Okay.
So we'll see.
All right. Yeah. I think Mega Force. I think the outfit's relatively simple, so I think the buck you have might already work, but I won't, anyway. Mega Force is kind of a niche product that I was never really, I've seen the poster in the past, but I'd never actually watched the movie until Gaz showed it to me. But speaking of good friends, I did also invite another friend who pre-ordered the Gullwing, and Oz, you know him Ace, you're going to meet this. I think you've talked to him before. You're going to meet him for the first time. Hans Chow, welcome, buddy. You made it.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Hey, Hans.
Morning, Hans.
It's good to be here. Firstly,
Great.
I don't think I've spoken to Ace before,
I have on the chat. I think on the chat.
Definitely in the chat, and I messaged you once on Instagram. But Ken, thank you for inviting me on. First of all, it's very nice to meet you, Ace. I'm a big fan of the way that you're handling your company as well as everything to do with it. You're advertising well. You're very sociable, and you're very much a fan making toys. And I hope that you continue that because it makes you very unique amongst toy creators.
Wow.
And also you have that that humility, which I really enjoy, because humility shows like a willingness to also learn from mistakes and such. And you don't allow that hubris to kind of take hold, which a lot of people do have in the toy making community. And I do really appreciate that. And I hope that continues and grows, because that only means that your company will grow more and more. And it certainly endears people like myself to you, because the Commander series, while I only was introduced to that very late in the game, I didn't get a chance to get the original 3. But luckily, after I found that, I started to watch you guys, and I saw the Gullwing project come out, I saw the Shark come out, and I knew this is my guy. This is gonna be my guy.
All right.
And I'm very happy to meet you right now, and thank you, Ken, again for allowing this to happen. And just thumbs up on everything so far.
Thank you. Yeah.
Even in the last video with the troubleshooting system, everybody else would my other companies would just sort of be like, "Well, good luck," and you're like, "No, it's the factory. It's fine." And
it's something that I hate to do, because it's supposed to work, right? If it's not working, I'm dead, right? But I'm trying to see if we can rectify it versus sending over another item where that particular thing could actually be working. What I hate most is that you have something that's working and then you think that it's not working and then you trash it. And then it's like so I thought if we could rectify, because I knew this problem. If you held on to the latch and you close it, it just locks the thing, which we are definitely figuring out a way to not happen in the second run. So that's how you learn, because in every new production, there's always going to be unforeseen issues. That's why I'm adamant that every production has problems. Even the Mattels, the Hasbros, and everything, there's problems. Even your iPhones has problems, right? So it's not purposefully. We don't do it by design. It happens, and then we have to discover how to rectify it. And but the show must go on. We can't stop it and say, "Oh no, this is gonna be redone. The factory is gonna kick me out," right? So you have to roll the punches. You have to, the show must go on. You have to ship it and then hope that the defective rate is kept to that industry standard of about 3%. Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm really sorry for those that got the defective ones, and I'm doing my best to rectify it. Mm-hmm. And
and it's stressful for you too, because it's an investment on your part.
Yeah.
Right.
And out of the two customers that came up with the problem, they actually rectified it, right? They rectified the problem and they said, "No need to send me another one." Okay, that's great. But we have 2 more which couldn't rectify it, and then we are sending them replacements. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, all right. Princeton Phalanx 59, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says he got the red Gullwing yesterday. Simply marvelous. Keep up the great work, Ace.
Yeah,
something what he meant to say. And thank you for pointing that out, because Kato's Collection just did a recent review on the Gullwing, and I actually messaged Kato yesterday.
That's a fire video.
Yeah, and I think like you even responded when he said like how he wanted to put the mirrors on, and you actually even responded to that comment, and I think he even pinned the comment about like the mirrors being either fragile or how to take them on, or how to take them off, put them on. Yeah. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring Hans on here is because Hans, because of where you live, you don't always get access to a lot of the toys. Yeah. But you made the red Gullwing happen because you just had to have it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's sorry, go ahead.
No, that's totally fine. And one of my loyal patrons has asked, will the Marshall be closer to Super 7 Ultimate size or classified?
It's 6.6 inch tall, so you guys decide.
Oh, that tells me it's that's like Masters of the Universe classic size and WWE size. So I think that tells me it's a bit closer to Ultimates.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyways,
that tells me that the law is bigger than any vigilante, which means that he's come to lay down the law.
Yeah.
It's funny because I went to Joe Fest recently and I priced some mask vehicles there, and I made that calculation in my head, and it was very much if I had to go with the vintage mask vehicles versus a brand new product that, in my opinion, potentially controversial opinion, a superior mask product, Makina, then certainly I would go with that one, because if I am going to
the springs work better, right?
Well,
they're not 40 years old or 38 years old or whatever.
Yeah. And also the minifigures, whether we like it or not, the original mask cartoon was very much about the characters. The vehicles were secondary. It was nice to see the vehicles, but they were nothing without the characters. And Ramen Toys did add a lot of character to the Makina minifigures that come with the sets. And that is completely and absolutely an upgrade from the vintage. So gentlemen like me who never had any of the original mask toys can get into Makina for, in my opinion, a superior price grade and get a superior product, and also be able to experience the nostalgia because it's created by someone who is very much respectful of the material, but also not afraid to change it to make it better.
Ace is just one of the boys, right? One of the crew, right? And a couple of things. These are actually questions I was thinking as well. HoloNet, I know I don't have your question pulled up, but he's asking, one, does 3030 transform? And two, Allison Troy's question here about, have you thought about doing unproduced characters like you did for the 80s? Like you did that for the 80s Commanders. You did some. I'm not a Super Centurions guy, so have you thought about doing some unproduced characters for Marshall? And does 3030 transform?
So the 30 doesn't transform. That's number one. We will probably do a transform version later on. Remember, guys, making a new character for a small company, it takes time. It takes about 3 months to sculpt something.
Yep.
It takes another 4 months to get it into a prototype. You're talking about years of development, at least for one character. If we expedite it, if we're like really, crunching it, we could do it probably in 6 months. But again, it's dependent on my sculptor's bandwidth and all these things. And right now we are working with 2 sculptors, designers, and that's all, in terms of our capacity now. More characters would mean definitely more help, more sculptors, because we cannot handle the stuff that we have already planned for. Also, the so-called lesser characters is high risk, and we have really tried that with the Apache Commander. Yeah. And as much as I would love to fulfill your dreams, it's going to be tough to say yes, we're going to be doing those characters. We'll do the main characters, and even. Yeah, so we'll do the main characters, and we'll go from there. That's all I can say, But
that's fair.
Be mindful that we need time to develop something. That's just. I mean, we don't have, like in Hasbro's case, the whole department of designers, engineers that if you just throw them something, they
And
got to get it out.
even that's difficult because Corey Cantalupe was a sculpting manager for Hasbro's G.I. Joe Classified line. When I talked to him at Joe Fest, he's juggling a lot of stuff in the air while that's going on. Things go wrong, he has to send it back, and not all of his sculptors are in house. That's what he was saying. So now he's trying to communicate out of house.
Exactly.
Quickly, have you had any requests for Starcom yet?
I've already shared a tease almost like a year and a half ago, but I never got into actually doing it because I am undecided on the size.
Yeah.
If I do it original, then again, why? If I do it bigger, then it's expensive. The Stomach's bomber on 118, it's going to be big.
Yeah.
Right? So,
and I think most of our renders are 3D, right? Like I think clay and wax is a very old school type of way.
3D, gone are the days of sculpting, because if you sculpt it in wax and all these things, you will still need to scan it into a 3D.
You will,
like going backwards, which is why I was impressed, and I wanted to work with this the designer sculptor, Adam Crone, I think I got his name right, and he was sculpting the Snake Mountain Man, right? And I was in talks with him about, hey, can I get your design and then let's make it into a figure. But we stumbled upon a speed bump in a sense that he can only sculpt an actual sample. So by doing that, I potentially run into a lot of problems because his sculpt, number one, has to be sized up so that when it goes into his sculpt will be the master, right? I'm not going to tinker around with his sculpt. His sculpt's the master, so his sculpt will have to be bigger than the mold, because otherwise, if he sculpted based on what he is doing now, which is basically a 1-to-1 that matches the origins, it's going to come out smaller, right? So I got to actually get his sculpt. I got to 3D scan it, and I got to improve it. So once I improve it, then it loses his originality. So it's a conundrum.
Okay.
I don't know how to move on.
That's fine. And you know what you said about sculpting, right? Like Steve has mentioned this before for Delta 17, right? Is one of our sculptors for Delta 17, Tommy. He actually watches this channel. He watches Mega J's channel. He doesn't have a lot of bandwidth. He sculpted the majority of our figures for Delta 17, and Jesse Sandifer sculpted the other two. And it's hard to pin down people's time when they're working on multiple projects, especially when you have to do feedback here and there. There's certain things that just through miscommunication, you say, I want to make this change, and then they either make a little too much of the change or a little or too little. We all want 1 million characters to come out at a very high speed. Unfortunately, like I've had to watch and even live a bunch of that process as well, where a sculpt comes in and you go, "Oh, that's not dialed in. That's going to look too different from our other figures." Or no, I intended the pockets for this character to be, a little bit higher up on the pant leg or whatever it is, and you got to redo that. Or you have an 11th hour change. We go, hey, can we do up a tattoo on the person's arm? There's so many moving parts. And there's times just sitting there talking to the sculptor, whether it's on the phone, whether it's on Messenger, etc. There's just so much. And also, like, we're expected to dial in the quality much higher right now than something that would have given you a pass, 40-something years ago. Maybe some people will disagree. They'll say that the quality from 40-something years ago was higher than today. And if they want to feel that way, that's fine. But I feel that the amount of time that's put in terms of attention to detail is just insane these days, and it's hard to do large waves of figures. So
as an artist myself, one of my mentors, he always told me that no one ever remembers how long it took. They only remember how good it looked.
Yes.
So I would rather wait a long time for an excellent product and kind of dial back I don't know what that is called, that anxiety associated with waiting to have it in my hands to have a superior product in the long run. Ace, what are your feelings on that? You rather get it right, yeah?
No, you have to get it right, but you have to get it right on time. because you can't be taking like 7 years and forever
Sure.
to get it right. There is a limited lifespan to everybody. There is, tomorrow may not be guaranteed, so you got to make sure that you are on time, and delays, albeit happen, you got to make sure that the delays are at the minimum, right? So you don't say, "Oh, I'm trying to get it right, so I'm going to take my time." No, 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 not in my book.
So, what's the line again? Work isn't was it a piece of artwork is never finished. It's just stopped. So
Yeah,
you
you
have
never
to
finish your work. Yeah, that's
yeah.
what. Yeah,
So do you set the deadlines, for example, because you said you had two designers, you set a realistic deadline for them. In
Yeah.
your opinion, you give them more than enough time, and whatever they get at that, let's market that. Yeah.
yeah,
That
and
being said,
it's really kudos to the designers, because we won't be sitting here talking today if it weren't for the designers.
Right.
I can't design, I can't sculpt. So credit, kudos to the people that meet what you're seeing. I'm just here directing it, making the changes, making sure that it is in a certain way.
I think that being said, even though you can't sculpt and design, it's worth mentioning that an individual who does not give in to the Peter principle above everyone and managing is also very important, because artists, unfortunately, sometimes we can be quite flippant.
Oh
So
yeah, I know that. I know that.
So, I mean, as
Yeah.
talented as they are, I don't think we can ever short sell how important it is that there's a man above them or an
Yeah.
individual above them who can keep them on point and on target. So, I mean, it's really this excellent mixture that you've created for your company, small or large as it is, because every product that you've put out so far, from the looks of it, is beautiful.
Thank you.
And I think
And we're always making better. Yeah, it's never enough. We never rest on our laurels.
I think that's also very important. And I think, as I said, once you keep pounding away at those particular principles, I mean, there'll only be success in the future. And I think that's wonderful, and it's something that a lot of the larger companies who have billions of dollars behind them really need to think about, because it's a little hurtful what some of them do sometimes. And I think that I prefer your logic and your business practice to them by far.
But then again, if we look at the big picture, what I'm doing, what we are talking about, what we're collecting, at least for the ramen stuff, it's such a small little drop in the ocean. The big companies have to deal with a vast range of products. Hasbro not only does collected toys, they do infant, toddlers, in educational and all these things. Likewise, Mattel. So the pressure to deliver for these companies is actually immense, which if we don't stop and think about it, we can just go on every day. Oh, Hasbro bad, but think about it. Think about what they have on their plate to
Yep.
deliver, maintain, innovate, and all these things. So actually, you have to give the proper credit to them. Again, what I'm doing here is just a drop in the ocean.
That's right.
Well, we got over 60 people watching. Everybody hit that like button. Keep putting comments in. We want people to see this stream. So we're just about an hour in, and Ace, unless you have any other updates, I wanted to maybe talk a little bit about PowerCon and expectations for you and Oz. Be a lot of companies there. You're gonna meet a lot of people there. What's your expectation going into and coming out of PowerCon, Ace?
Well, I hope to. The expectations is I can sell a lot of pre-orders, right? I mentioned it. I'm not like, oh, I'm just. I say whatever I have to say. So going there is not cheap for us. I don't think there's any other overseas exhibitors at PowerCon besides me. Unless I'm wrong, right? So it's an endeavor to go over there. I mean, Ken, you saw what I'm going to bring. I'm going to bring all that by myself.
Wow.
Incredible.
You did send it to me on WhatsApp today, and I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say anything.
I mean, you got to appreciate what I'm doing here. I got to bring it all there, safe and sound, by myself, and set it up by myself. So my expectation is to get some orders, right? So that the team back in Singapore will be will be happy that this trip is fruitful and not just another addition to the expenses.
Mhm.
And I long for the day when at least we can get a little queue maybe to buy stuff, because
Yep.
I heard about the Four Horsemen's previous cons having like a 2-hour queue. I was like, wow,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah,
So
the lineup is long.
in my mind, PowerCon is not like big as San Diego, right? So it's like a smallish sort of a convention hall. But
Mhm.
to have that and then have a 2-hour queue, then that really speaks volumes about the
Yeah.
community and the customers, the fans, collectors. Yeah.
Mhm.
So hopefully we
Yeah.
can get a bit of that, and that's good enough.
And this reminds me of something. I need to order the Great White as well. Do you know how soon you're going to put that for pre-order? Because we know that, just so people know, Aces of Aviation, Top Gun is going to happen during PowerCon weekend. Marshall will be either that weekend or shortly after, unless you change your mind, Ace. But when we last talked, that's what you said. And then the Great
Yeah.
White is kind of like everybody's next question.
Yeah, so everybody, we're all waiting on the team in Singapore putting up the items on the website. They are doing their best to, do that, because again, it's not as simple as just like listing an eBay listing, just put it up. It is a lot of troubleshooting with so many countries, the shipping and all these things. So we're trying to improve the customer experience on the website. So please bear with us. They're doing their best to get it up. Definitely Aces during PowerCon, it will be up on our website, and I'll even probably announce it. And when Great White goes up, I'll also announce it. And also, if you're on the mailing list, there'll be an e-blast of the product being available on your email. So yeah, we're doing our best to get it up.
It is a question that you always get, like ever since Joe Fest. Steve and I have been getting questions multiple times a week. When can we pre-order Delta 17? When can we pre-order Delta 17? And we just want to be able to say, oh, right now. But we haven't dialed exactly that in yet. I've told Hans I'll pack his order personally myself because I have his address. But that how many orders can I pack by myself in my house? 20 or 30? You know what I mean? So anyway. So it's a question that always comes up. That's why I figured I'd give you the floor to kind of address that. Yeah. And a few people did see your previous interview there on Skullface's channel. That was definitely a fun one, and I got some information there. So cool. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to derail your PowerCon talk there. And like I said, I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say anything about what you showed me this morning. So I woke up to that. Suddenly you showed me when you bring it to PowerCon. I'm like, God damn.
You can say a lot of stuff. We want to keep it a suspense until PowerCon, because no point showing something when it's almost there, and you want people to go to the show to see it. So yeah,
it's a lot of people were asking about that last night while I was live. When they heard that I was going to be on this morning with Ken and yourself, they were like, "Ooh, is he going to have any reveals?" And I'm like, "I don't think he's really going to reveal much. 4 days out from PowerCon,
yeah,
but we can hope, So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're bringing. I thought you were bringing a whole team. I didn't realize it was just going to be you by yourself.
Yes.
Well, when I visit you, I'll try to keep it brief, because I know you're going to be very busy.
You need someone to relieve you for bathroom breaks too. I mean, you need at least a second person there. So
I can stand in for a minute or two.
They're like, you're not the Ramen Toy guy. Anyway, cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the activity this morning and the number of people who are watching this.
This has been phenomenal, yeah.
Yeah. Nice try, Neil. I know we talked at length yesterday. Now you're just busting my balls. But this is about Ramen Toy today. I'm only talking about where I can relate at a small level, because I'm just upstart myself on this. So cool. I mean, PowerCon, I know a lot of you will probably be landing in on the Wednesday, probably networking through the Thursday, and I think it officially starts Friday and goes through Sunday, right?
Right.
So I am going to be curious for people who went to both PowerCon and Joe Fest, how big PowerCon is compared to Joe Fest, because I know it's not I know a lot of the bigger companies are going to be there, right? Not counting the companies that were already at Joe Fest, because some of them were already there, Action Force, as well as Animal Warriors of the Kingdom were there as a brand. But in addition to all that, we are going to get Super 7. We're going to get NECA. We're going to get McFarlane, Boss Fight. All right, Ramen, Four Horsemen, Mythic Legions is going to be there, and a lot of the big toy tubers are going to be there as well. Fwoosh is going to be there, right? Secret Galaxy, Pixel Dan.
Yep.
So I'm curious how large PowerCon is going to be compared to Joe Fest.
It's certainly growing. I think they said this is going to be their biggest year yet, and that's kind of important. I'm really glad to be a part of that and being able to show up and meet so many of these amazing people in one space. And after what we've all gone through over the past like 3 or 4 years, I think it's outstanding that we are able to do so again, because it has been a very long time since we've been able to meet in these kinds of capacities face to face and actually get a feel for one another and see each other.
I'm just chewing on something that my son gave me, so I'm just gonna let that hang in the air.
Are we all letting it hang in the air?
Oh, I'm reading. I'm just reading the chat. I was hoping somebody would chime in, but you know,
okay.
that's why I brought you on.
To fill air with other things.
Right.
Yeah. I still got to pull the joke one day where you're waiting in the green room, and then I say I'm gonna leave camera and come back in my Super Saiyan mode, and then Hans comes in and goes, and then takes off, and then I come back on. So.
Ace, you don't feel obligated to answer this question, but I'm curious as to what your history is with toys. I mean, there has to be. I mean, how does one get into this? You know, I find that's very interesting because a lot can be said about the individual by their history.
Yeah, so I am definitely I was fortunate to be able to buy toys every weekend growing up, and the toys soon became model kits, and I got involved. Like I love making the model kits, and I was buying model kits and resin kits and more so than figures actually. And after finishing the army in Singapore, I came out and I did some insurance. I was an insurance salesman for about half a year, and that didn't quite work out. I was not able to get any sales, and then I had to fall back to I was buying from eBay in like the year 1999. I was buying stuff. I was like, oh, this is great. I could buy all the stuff I wanted. I could never get Star Convoy though; it was always too expensive. I was like buying stuff. I was buying, colored Batmans and whatever. I mean, whatever I could afford on eBay. I was even sending US dollars cash in the envelope to the sellers. That was what I was doing, right? Because most sellers are from the US. So I was buying from eBay for a while, and then when I couldn't actually get any inroads in the insurance, I started selling my own stuff. Not the stuff I bought from eBay, but my own collection over the years. The racing kits, the model kits, and everything, and everything that I put online sold, right? And then I just started selling, and then I was out of stuff to sell, and I made the decision to go to Japan to attend Wonder Festival in the year 2000, which was just a year after I finished the army, and I was able to find a source. Right, I think I was among the pioneers going to Japan, finding the vintage stuff and then selling on eBay. So that actually funded a career which spanned about 3 years. And then I opened up my own little shop in Singapore. That was in 2003. And I sort of closed it 2 years later because that wasn't the way to go. A retail shop selling collectibles, vintage one-offs is not the way. I moved over to Hong Kong, and I joined a e-commerce website selling, mass market toys. And from then on, that company went on to license and make stuff, and I was involved in the process. I was helping up with the prototyping, the painting, going to the factory to see the QC, and from then on, I just was on the track. I was on that track to make stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Are you allowed to?
Sorry.
Are-
So you. I just want to know. So you were really on the business side first, because the e-commerce side is certainly finances and whatnot. So, but the passion came from when you were young. The building.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. Sorry, Ken. Go ahead.
No problem.
Yeah,
No problem.
That's why I was saying that I do not believe that these executives at the bigger companies are the people like me, right? They need the people like me to be there to make the calls, I guess, to do better stuff.
Are you allowed to say who's because it's been asked in the chat a couple of times who your designer is for the Brave Star stuff?
Oh yeah, we have Julian from Argentina and
nice.
Luke Wickford from I think it's in Canada. I think
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
right. I'll file those names in case I need sculptors. No, just kidding. I won't steal your sculptors. Cool. Well, we've been going for just over 75 minutes here, and I don't know. Oz, do you have anything else to ask Ace, or anything else to talk about PowerCon wise, or when you're planning to be there, or anything?
Well, I mean, I'll be there Thursday, so I'm hoping to meet up with a lot of people like Friday before the con starts, and possibly, again, going through Saturday, being able to spend some time and see people even outside of the con, like after hours. Ace, I was definitely wondering if you would like to join us. I know a couple of us have thought about trying to go out and grab some dinner at some point.
Oh yeah, definitely.
After convention hours. We'd like to have you on board with us, and maybe doing a bit of a live stream from wherever we're at that time.
Great.
Just to
Sounds
say
good.
hey to everybody. We definitely appreciate having you on board with that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Definitely. No problem. Yeah. I look forward to it.
So many of you are going to be there. Like I'm even debating how I'm going to be able to do a TKO that weekend. I almost just want to do like PowerCon updates or something like that. But yeah,
we'll talk about that, Ken. Maybe we can work something out while we're going through everything. We could try
perhaps
to organize best we can.
Awesome, cool.
It's gonna sound stupid, but Ace, have you ever been to Waffle House?
Which one?
To Waffle House.
Oh no, I've not been. No.
I didn't either, and these Americans took me to Waffle House, and I wasn't prepared for the way that Americans eat their food.
So Hans, where are you, by the way? Where
Me, I live in Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, wow, that's a unique place.
It's a hemisphere away. But I wasn't ready for the way the Americans put down food, man. You see, like you and me,
yeah.
There's a reason I'm a husky boy.
Oh, one last thing. Ace, the first time I said anything to you, you were on Michael Mercy's stream talking about your Commander series, and I put a comment in, and you smiled, and I don't know if it was this is years ago, but I was like, "You're looking very healthy. You're looking very strong. You're looking like you get your exercise and you eat well. Keep doing that so you can make toys for a long time, And I just remember looking back on the stream, and I think you were looking at the stream and you kind of laughed at that. No, because Michael brought it up as well. But anyway, just want to say you're looking good, man. So you're getting your exercise in. Looks like you're eating well,
I hope I can get. I hope to get more exercise. I'm not really getting any exercise in the past. I would say the past year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Hey, Michael Mercy, if you're listening, reply me on Instagram, man. It's been a little while. Haven't heard from you. So anyway,
yeah, Michael. Yeah, we had that stream with Michael a year and a half ago, maybe.
Just about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta get that exercise in, man. It helps the brain, function well. It gets the blood flowing. It's good for this thing.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cool. As for the food, Hans, remember, I think it was the Saturday night at Joe Fest. We went to this sandwich place. They gave us these huge burgers and French fries. We were eating outside with the whole crew of us there. Gazz was there too. In the chat, Matt, a bunch of us were there. and you scarfed down the whole burger and all the fries, and then they called the order number again, and it was yours, and you ordered a second, I think exactly the same order. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm full from the size, because I ordered, I think, the same thing you did. And this wasn't like one of those McDonald's burgers with the side of fries. These were big wedge fries, and these were like big, like pub-sized burgers. And you had the exact same order, and you scarfed it down while I was still having my first meal. And I asked you, I'm like, how are you able to eat double the amount of, another full-grown adult? And you're just like, we don't have this kind of food in Trinidad and Tobago, so I'm gonna scarf it down here.
Ex-military.
I think Hans is a young guy. He can.
I'm not. I'm older than Ken.
I always forget by how much.
And I'm ex-military, and I will say this one thing: it's very machismo, right? There are three things: eating, drinking, fighting. I don't drink, so you got to do the other two really well to compensate for the drinking bit. So I like to think I can eat most people on the table. I mean, I'm getting old now, so maybe not, but y'all got some good food. It'll kill you, but it's some good food.
Mm. So what's
Can I
next
just ask the chat if my video is better today, or is it still like freezing and stuff like that? Can I just?
You've been on point today. Since
it's
that
better.
Initial hiccup, it's been solid the entire.
And the initial hiccup was all backstage, yeah. So are you going to be doing what's next for your 80s Commanders line?
Yeah, we will definitely do our best to finish up at least the antagonist scientist, maybe a female character. So yeah, at least just some of that. Yeah,
awesome.
But again, like I said, the 80s Commanders, I want to overhaul it because of the mistake that we did. Well, I did when we did the first run.
Mm-hmm.
I had the size. I mean, I calculated the size is 15.7 centimeters tall. That's how tall the character is in 1/12, and we made the prototype in that size. So by right, the factory should size it up and then do the tooling. But they used my prototype and they did the tooling, and then it came out small. So I'm trying to rectify that. I'm trying to see if I can, in due course, bring on my actual size, and then maybe we can revamp the suit and make it something else. So we're not going to do the same suit again. We can probably now bring it closer to what the fans want, which is closer to the cartoon designs. So we'll see.
And Silver K, the skincare routine for me is vitamin D, lots of moisturizer, and I just realized you were asking Hans, not me, and he just walked away. So I have no idea what his skincare routine is. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. He went to answer the skincare routine. Okay.
So Ravi, I wash every day twice with the facial moisturizer. I use the hydrating cleanser and sunblock. And then eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. There you go. And drink water. Lots of it.
You're in better shape than a lot of us in person. Definitely no beer gut, because that's a prevalent thing when you meet somebody in person. Most people don't assume I have a beer gut, but I do. So, or at least my mom tells me.
My goal is to remain a sexual Tyrannosaurus well into my 80s.
Wow.
Especially with that voice, right? So, yeah, you are always talking to me about health. Like the funniest thing is when he finished that burger, I suddenly feel someone grab me from behind, from the back with and starts massaging my shoulders, and I'm like, ah! And it's Hans, and Hans is a strong dude, right? Like he's got strong fingers, right? And I did not know how many knots I had in my shoulders until Hans said, "Ken, you gotta loosen up, buddy. You're gonna have some problems in a few years." I don't know if he broadcasted that message, but then on Father's Day, like a week later, my wife got me one of those like shoulder/back massagers that I hang on the back of my chair, and I just turn it on and it just massages. I don't think it's going to solve the whole problem, but it might kick the problem way, way, way down the line to when I'm supposed to have problems rather than getting them when I'm still a middle-aged person. So, yeah.
So it's the stress that gets you. It's the stress.
Yeah, I think Hans was like, "Are these real shoulders? Because this feels like I'm massaging a wooden board right now." You know what I mean? So
the word was ship rope. It felt like ship rope. More
that tight.
That is tight,
bro.
Yeah. And you're like I've heard that before. Like you're too tense, buddy. And I'm just like, yeah, but that's me.
You're
That's
a
me.
wigwam, you're a TP, right? You're 2 tents.
There we go. All right. Well, we're just about to hit the hour and a half point. If anyone wants to say anything else.
I did want to follow up with another question for Ace about future and upcoming products. So a lot of people are just getting the verse heads, which looks stunning on all the figures, by the way. Every single person who has shown me their figures, like no matter which body it is, whether it's the movie body, the anniversary body, the origins body, the head looks amazing on all the figures. Thank you so much for that, Ace, because they messed that one up big time. We know Bad to the Bones. You're working on that. You're bringing that to PowerCon with you. Me being mostly Masters of the Universe centric, is there any other projects along those lines in the pipeline? I know you may not be able to give out any details or anything like that, but is there anything?
Why don't you go to the con, Oz, and then see for yourself?
That tells me all I need to know right there, and I can't wait to bring that coverage to all of the people who watch the channel and the Toy Frenzy show. They will be excited to see what you have.
All right.
Just putting that out there for somebody who had a very big question about me for that. So,
all right.
I'm only just getting back into Masters of the Universe, actually, with the Masterverse line, and I have to say, Mattel is an exceptional company. Hasbro is also an exceptional company, but I am very impressed at what Mattel has done with the Masterverse interpretations of the traditional Origins characters.
Each wave of Masterverse just keeps getting more and more exceptional as it goes along. I get that movie figure, it was a whole likeness rights issue. I still say that head sculpt looks like Shrek. So, there always could have been room for improvement, but like they put out a couple of decent heads for it. And Masterverse, again, as more people are pumping money into it, you can see where that end result is paying off with the faith that the company has in the brand still, and putting forth better and better products as it's coming out with Masterverse. So I'm very, very happy to see that they're continuing that into the next year.
I just hope, and this is silly to say, but I hope that from now on the right hand, they include this.
It would be nice.
It would be
like,
it's actually very simple. The joint, you can rotate it, right? It's not supposed to be fixed. It's a ball pack. It's a ball pack, ball, and then 2 packs, and these 2 packs need not be glued date to the figure. So you can rotate it, and it can go this way, and you can rotate it, and it can go this way. It's as simple as that. Because all my figures, the hands comes off, and the ball pack is there into the wrist, into the arm, forearm, and this position is not dead. You can move it. See? So it's not that difficult. So when I inspected, I was wondering what was the problem that the collectors are having. Then I look at some figures and I see that they got the hand, already fixed onto the hinge and the peg, and yes, that hinge is only this way. Okay, I get it. Then you can't move it around. But in today's, in the method that we do it, same as I think Mayfax and same as other
Toy
brands, that ball can be rotated, so it's not a problem. It's not a problem.
I hope that they do it. I mean, as a father of 2 as well, I also note, because I don't know, I know you're the Masters of the Universe guy, Ozymandias, but the toys that came out for the Netflix He-Man, my kids love that show, and they love the toys, and those things are basically like 5 POA but with wrist.
Yeah.
They don't care about articulation. They want to be able
Not at all.
Not at all. Hit them together, and they want to be able to hit each other, and that's kind of rock on.
Those toys, those ones were the perfect answer to people that wanted something like the 1980s, not exactly Origins collector style, because they are tough, they are durable, and they can take a beating. Like, When I first started buying that line, I was like, oh, this is a great cheap option. I can get it for my son. He can get into Masters of the Universe. And he very quickly was like, well, why don't I have more figures like yours? And I was like, because I don't care if you take this guy out there and you lose him. He's, like, I mean, of course I care if he loses them, but, like, I knew he wasn't going to break that through the regular play that we all experienced as kids with Masters Universe. And we didn't care that they had just 5 POA at the time. It's not like G.I. Joe wasn't out at the time, too, where you could see all of that articulation in a figure. It was just these figures were cool. They could take a beating. They didn't need to be super articulated to do what you wanted to do. And that definitely translated to that CGI line, which was definitely meant for the kids. And I really wish we'd seen more of that.
I agree. Interestingly, I also asked Ace on one stream. It was one of his streams, actually, about the Gullwing. Is the Gullwing going to be a toy or is it going to be a display piece? And he answered very much it's going to be a toy. You can play with it, and because I'm not planning on throwing it off a cliff, but at the same time, I am going to play with it because I open my toys and play with them. And to link it to the Netflix He-Man series, that Castle Grayskull is just as detailed as any Castle Grayskull I've ever seen for collectors, and likewise, the Gullwing as well. Extraordinarily detailed, but with detail and durability, that's an excellent combination. If you sprinkle in affordability into that triumvirate, that's an unbeatable combination.
You win. It's just full of win.
You win. Perfect.
Right?
In the Street Fighter voice, yeah.
That's right.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much, for me, that covers more or less what I wanted to discuss today. And I just want to say thanks, everyone, for being on. Ace, thanks for being our special guest and answering questions and to help promote Ramen Toy. Last time I had you on, we were just talking stuff in general. We weren't focused on the Ramen Toy brand. This was the first time we got to do this. Oz, your YouTube channel link is in the chat. Hans, thank you for joining us late there. I know I said, yeah, if you want to gate crash the stream midway, feel free, and you weren't 100% sure, and you were able to. Also, because I always forget to do it, I'm just going to thank my Patreon supporters and channel members whose names are in the description of the chat, description of the video. So thanks to those people for their support and all that, and everyone who's in the live stream today. There were a lot of you today, and just grateful for all your viewership, support, and we'll be back next week with some more stuff. Otherwise, just say a good farewell and a goodbye to everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Goodbye.
And we'll catch you when we catch you. And happy PowerCon week, everybody.
Yes.
Take care.
Winners don't do drugs.